gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Beatsmith music.
Welcome to the Fair NFL channel. Welcome to the tune, man. I'm back, man. Hey, I'm glad we're coming off a win. I'm excited. I'm glad everybody's pulled up. I see y'all in the chat. Let me introduce y'all real quick. Let's see. SVT in the building. We not tanking. We are trying to win, but we suck. Although we are showing improvement. Yeah, hey, man. You being honest. You being honest right now. I agree 100%. Yo, Pharaoh, Ray, my dogs, what's good, gentlemen? Salute Nation. Appreciate you, Van City Raider, man. Hey, man, the guys from Canada showing up, man. Always showing love, man. Alfredo in the building. Salute Nation. What's good? Hey, man, I'm not gonna waste no time, and I'm gonna get my co-host in the building. What's good? Hey, Ray, man, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Man, we chilling, man. Hey. Like I said, I am glad the Raiders finally won. I mean, we all know everybody's here. Everybody's watching the Raiders every Sunday. We're not watching them lose, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But I'm watching them to win. I don't care. It don't matter. It don't matter if it's the first week, second week, last week. I'm watching them win. But I understand. I understand the logic behind, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But how did you feel about the last game?
Man, it was exciting to see. Obviously, we've beat two teams this year, the Texans and the Broncos twice. So it was an exciting time. Really, I was most happy with the locker room, man. I was excited for those guys. I was excited for a guy like DC. I was excited for Max Crosby, the leaders of this team. And you know what? I hate to say it, but I'm excited for Josh McDaniels to get a win like that and maybe create something in the locker room that we've been missing. You know, that was the most energy I've seen out of the locker room this entire season, and I think we needed it desperately. You know, if we're not going to be very good this year, and everything that's been written on the wall, right? You could kind of make the argument that, hey, maybe this season it's a little bit too late. However, if you can rally behind Josh McDaniels and create a sense in the locker room that they buy in, I'm all for that.
Facts, 100%. Yeah, that's like that's probably one of my favorite parts of the game was after the game. When you seen how excited the players were when they were like literally they weren't even in their own. I don't think that was their own tunnel. It was like
nah.
They were celebrating in the Denver Broncos.
No, I love that, bro. It was nice.
Which I love. Yeah, which I love, man. Like, you know, Denver fans didn't like that. I know the Denver players didn't like that. But hey, at the end of the day, they won fair and square. I thought it was a great play call. We were talking about that, like how it was a great setup. I see something today where literally it was set up by an earlier route that Devontae Adams ran earlier in the game, and then he went to work. Hey, man, he abused Patrick Surtain. We were calling him like the next great corner, but I think Devontae Adams said it was a little premature. But that being said, I agree with you 100% when it comes to McDaniels in the locker room. Like, that was the most excitement that I've seen from that team all year long. Like, they actually looked like they wanted to play for McDaniels. They actually looked like they wanted to play with each other. Like, you know what I mean? As far as like, you know, on the football field, the locker room, you seen how Derek Carr had his little moment where he comes into the locker room. We everybody kind of seen it by this point, where like they're literally chanting his name.
I think this answers a lot of questions of what we had, right?
Yeah.
It's been a minute since the Raiders have gotten a victory, so it's kind of been a minute since we've seen what's going on in that locker room. And I think it was evident that this team was fighting to win football games. You know, and another thing that really encouraged me, Pharaoh, was to see Dave Ziegler, Champ Kelly. I don't know if you got to see that clip, but as the players were walking off, they were fired up, giving guys high fives, hugging them, letting them know how much they appreciate them. Like, bro, that's exactly what we needed to see as a fan base, to see from the top of this regime all the way down to the bottom, bought in. Winning cures a lot of stuff, and it's funny in 1 week how the emotion can change in the nation.
Facts, 100%. And like, it is only one game.
Oh yeah.
It is only one game, and a lot of pessimists will say like, well, too little, too late. Their chances of making the playoffs are slim. But that being said, I do want to see improvement in this ball game. We all know that McDaniels is probably going to be back next year as a head coach. If he's coming back with, obviously from Mark Davis publicly endorsing him, not once but not twice, like I think multiple times, 3 times at least, where he's coming out and saying that, hey, McDaniels is here to stay. And last week we heard how Derek Carr was kind of like talking about how like that kind of like was a message in the locker room where like they took a deep breath, like, okay, he's not going to get fired, he's here to stay, we need to focus on what we need to focus on and get better as a team. And the players all season have been saying execution. I've been questioning that a little bit because at the end of the day, coaches got to be responsible for that too, because they have to prepare the players, and the players got to it got to go hand in hand. But at the end of the day, like, I want to see improvement in this team. If this look at the Raiders have Devontae Adams in their prime. Yeah, Devontae Adams in their prime. They got Max Crosby. Oh my God, the dude was a monster on Sunday. Oh,
Max Crosby is a superstar player, bro. Like, he just brings it down in and down out. I thought it was kind of interesting because you're talking about the route from Devontae Adams, and Lombardi comes out today doing his presser. I believe it was today. It was either today or yesterday, but he was talking about the freedom that the wide receivers have in the offense when it comes to route running. I thought that was a very, very interesting take based off of even the struggles that a guy like Hunter Renfrow, who has a lot of freedom in his route concepts, we've seen him struggling earlier in the season, and we alluded to it that, hey, these guys are making him run Josh McDaniels' scheme instead of letting these guys be free. You had made a good point. You alluded to an interview that Hunter Renfrow did of how, hey, if I do things the way that John Gruden's want me to do them, I'm not going to be in the league long. So he started doing his own thing on the football field, and that's when you started seeing third and Renfrow come to life. That's when you started seeing this natural playmaker start to make huge plays on the field. And that's something that we haven't seen out of Hunter Renfrow this year. And I thought it was just interesting to hear Lombardi say that he gives his wide receivers a lot of freedom inside the offense.
Yeah, and especially because one of the issues this season is the fact that the players are out there trying to run their offense, and they're out there thinking too much. And guys like Renfrow, when he's on the field healthy, he hasn't been as effective. He hasn't been able to be Renfrow that we all know and love from previous years, especially last year. We had over 1,000 yards receiving. He was basically our best receiving weapon. Obviously with Waller going down with injury for most of the season last year. And then another guy, Waller, but I think hopefully my hope is that the Raiders can finish the season strong. They can build off this momentum, obviously. And you know what? Before we get into talking about what we want for the season and how we want it to end, let's talk about some of the players that stepped up on Sunday too. Okay. Because we mentioned Devontae Adams, we mentioned Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs. Man, he has to be. The Raiders have to bring him back. I know. They kind of lucked out by not. Everybody didn't expect that to happen. I mean, no one expected Jacobs to have a big year as he has. I mean, it was his contract year, but he has to come back.
You think contract extension, or are you thinking franchise tag, or does it even matter?
They need to make it. They need to make it work. He's too great of a player. I seen a stat, and I'm going to pull this up. But man, I think it was something to the effect where let me pull this up real quick.
You think that it's? Do you think his performances are sustainable long term? I talked about it at the beginning of the offseason. I was like, hey, look, this season, man, Josh Jacobs could probably eat because he's going to get a lot of carries. And I just had a little bit of buyers beware. Like, you know what I mean? If you go and throw a ton of money at him, we've seen how these extensions are. You just made a point. Hunter Renfrow coming off 1,000-yard season. Darren Waller's production that he's had. We've thrown the bag at those guys, and we've kind of seen what's happened.
And I'm going to pull it up in a second, but it was a stat about how Josh Jacobs, since he surpassed over 850 yards this season, and then they were combining his stats, only 2 players that had those similar numbers didn't go to the Hall of Fame.
Oh no, I seen that stat.
You seen that? You seen that stat? I think Raider PR dropped it. I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna try.
Yeah. No, I seen that stat. It was actually pretty wild.
You know what I mean? And when you have that type of player, and you got to think about like the type of consistency that Josh Jacobs brings. we can nitpick Josh Jacobs' game. Obviously, he's not a burner, but he's consistent. He literally has gone over 1,000 yards almost every season, except for 1 year. But we could talk about his injuries. But hey, you know what? He came here. He came to the season ready, motivated. I feel like he needs to come back, and I know I need to get back to the chat in a little bit, but we're just so excited because we haven't even talked football since Sunday. You know what I mean? I've been holding it in. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait till today's show, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about a lot of different things today. But man,
Josh Jacobs stood up. You could see him rallying guys on the sideline, and man, I finally seen that juice that we've been talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I finally seen players holding players accountable on the sidelines, and I felt like a lot of these stories that have been coming out, sideline players are players coming to these games energized, ready to go, bringing the energy. I think that it was a point of emphasis for the Raiders team this Sunday going against the Denver Broncos that hold each other accountable and bring that energy, bring that juice. They made some good points about going into halftime, about how guys had a lot of energy, and I think that's crucial on a team like we've got. We've been playing stagnant football. You know what I mean? What's
okay,
good?
I got the stat right here. So running back Josh Jacobs has now eclipsed 850 rushing yards on the season, becoming the 10th player in NFL history with 850 rushing yards, 7+ rushing touchdowns in each of his first four seasons. 7 of the other 9 players to accomplish the feat are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm just saying. The Raiders right now, they got a great player in Devontae Adams. They got a great player in Josh Jacobs. They got a great player in Max Crosby. The time is now. They got to figure out. They need to figure out to put together a team. Obviously, this season has kind of gone to the gutter a little bit. It went left real quick. But all this rebuilding talk, man, I know that. Come on, man.
Are you cool with throwing more money at the offense?
The offensive line.
I know, but I'm saying you're talking about extending Josh Jacobs. You're going to be talking about $12.5 million for a running back.
I know.
So you've got 15 wrapped up in Hunter. You've got 15 wrapped up in Waller. You're going to have 34 million wrapped up in DC next year. Mm-hmm. And if you go throw 12 to 13 million dollars at Josh Jacobs, I mean, dude, we probably have some of the most expensive offensive weapons in the league at that point.
Yeah, that's true. And the likelihood, they're gonna have to make a trade. They're gonna have to give up one of their pieces on offense on offense. And I guess a guy that you probably can, I'm gonna throw that out there because it's probably people are already gonna bring it up, is Darren Waller.
Yeah.
Maybe a Renfro, but I think Darren Waller would be one just because his health is way more concerning. But you could say Renfro too as well. Renfro's not on the field right now. He's on injury reserve.
After seeing the celebration between Josh McDaniels and DC, I think these dudes really do have a connection. I think Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr are really trying to work on that relationship. And I'm just curious, man. Derek Carr, do you think Derek Carr could be the quarterback of the Raiders next year?
I think Derek Carr is just a good dude.
I think so.
He makes an effort to actually build a relationship with a coach. You know what I mean?
That's probably why he's been around this organization so long.
Because if you guys remember, even early on with Gruden, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's not going to work." Derek Carr is too sensitive. John Gruden he's a hard nosed guy. He's going to get in to Derek Carr's head, and Derek Carr is going to fold. That didn't happen. You know what I mean? And now with McDaniels, a lot of people kind of question it a little bit, but I think Derek Carr is the type of guy, I think a lot of coaches want to actually have a player like him. A lot of players want to be his teammate. And I'm not over here trying to make it seem like Derek Carr is the greatest thing. Nah, he's a good quarterback. He has his flaws. He's regressed this year. He's had his struggles. But, hey, I want it to work out. I want the Raiders to win. And I think that if the Raiders start building something right now, building some momentum, watch out. I mean, I just
don't want him to fumble this bag of missing out on Jalen Carter. That's my biggest thing. He's probably going to be, depending on how these quarterback stocks rise and situations like that. But Jalen Carter is just a guy who I just feel like the Raiders should just have circled in red on the draft board. I mean, he brings you every single thing that you need from this Raiders defense. And if you do bring a guy like Josh Jacobs back, you have to make a point of emphasis of being able to throw a ton of draft picks at the defensive side of the football. So Jalen Carter, for me, I know Will Anderson has been thrown around there a lot for the Raiders to go out there and get. I just think if you go out there and grab Will Anderson, you have a lot of money tied up in that defensive end position. What do you do with a guy like Chandler Jones? Because ultimately you're locked into that contract, okay? Yeah. Max Crosby has a big deal. And I think if you can get a guy like a Jalen Carter on the interior of this defensive line, maybe that can help bring Chandler Jones' production back up to a sustainable level. Getting a force like a Jalen Carter on the inside, and I think he would pair nicely with a guy like Bilal Nichols. You're going to be locked in with Bilal Nichols next season. He's going to be a Raider. He's kind of come on a little bit. I mean, he had a pretty good game against the Denver Broncos on Sunday. Build this interior, build it in the trenches, go get a dominant defensive lineman on the interior side. And man, let's see what can happen.
And Chandler Jones, speaking of him, he had a solid game. I seen him pressure a few times. He didn't get a sack. Y'all, he didn't get another sack, which is concerning once again, but he got some pressure. He was in the action. Another guy that stepped up on defense, Denzel Perriman. Oh, where's he been at the whole season? But he had a great game. He was making plays.
Juice, man. That's what I'm talking about. Is the whole team felt like they brought a new swagger. You know what I mean? They were out there playing Raider football, and that was like the first time this season I could say that this team didn't quit. They didn't look inconsistent on both sides of the football. You could tell that these guys wanted to go out there and win. Now let's see if we can keep that energy for the rest of the games. If we can keep at least that energy, even if we keep that energy and lose a couple of football games, I'm okay with that. As long as you guys go out there and put the effort and play for your teammates like you did on Sunday.
Facts, 100%, man. And let's segue real quick. You know what I mean? Because we said we're going to talk about it, and we're going to get to the chat in a little bit, man. We see y'all in there, man. But we just want to get some stuff off our chest, man, because it's been a minute. Like I said, we haven't talked since Sunday. I haven't talked to anybody about this game since Sunday. So to tank or not to tank, man, this is one of the biggest, I think, things that were storylines in Raider Nation, at least. I don't know about the media or anything like that, but I know Raider Nation. I see y'all talking out there, and one of the things was like, okay, on one hand, we got fans that excited that the Raiders finally won. In overtime, in with a game-winning touchdown, Derek Carr to Devontae Adams. But then on the other hand, you got some of the fan base like, what's the point? You know what I mean? We should just lose out some. We should tank the season pretty much and try to get a high draft pick, upgrade the talent on our roster. And I'm kind of on the side of like I don't really believe in tanking. You know what I mean? I think the Raiders have already, if they were going to go in that direction as far as rebuilding, then they should have went that way. But that's not the choice they made. The choice they made was actually sign a trade for Devontae Adams, sign a Chandler Jones. Obviously, that's not working out, but they signed him to a big contract, pretty much saying that we're trying to win now. You know what I mean? Give all these extensions to Derek Carr, to Darren Waller, to Hunter Renfrow. I know they're hurt and they haven't played well this season, but look at the Raiders' actions. Their actions are saying that we're trying to win now. So they shouldn't go away from that. They should try to figure it out. And in my eyes, I think if best case scenario, I think that if Josh McDaniels could be that guy, because I know I've been kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure if Josh McDaniels is the guy at head coach, but last game kind of gave me a little bit of hope. Like, all right, I see how excited the players are. I see his post-game speech. It was a little bit better than usual. We know it's terrible. We know he's not the rah-rah guy. We know that he's not John Gruden. But it was a little bit better than what I've seen in the past. And the players were responding, which I like. And if they can build off that, if this team can get better, if this offense can get better, and then we can get Waller back and Renfrow back, and then we could insert them in the offense and see some type of like, oh, okay, this is what it could be. You know what I mean? And, obviously the season is the chances of making the playoffs are very slim. I'm not going to guarantee that. I hope they win 7 straight, but it's at the end of the day, like they kind of dug themselves to the hole. But what I'm saying is I feel like they should just build on what they have and have another offseason, a good draft, and let the pieces fall where they may. And I just don't think it's I'm not saying I don't think coaches and players think like that. Anyways, I want to put that out there. I don't think players are thinking like, let's tank. You know what I mean? Players are not thinking that. Coaches
got way too much invested into this. Way too much. So that's why I think, dude, honestly, you made a good point about throwing all that money out. You know, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae. You owe it to these guys to go out on your shield, right? Like you threw all the chips on the table, and let's just keep it a buck, right? It just hasn't panned out this season. Mm-hmm. Do I think that the Raiders are consistent enough to go out there and win 7 straight? Absolutely not. Do I fear that they would go out there and win 7 straight? No, I don't. What do I want to see, though, is to bring that high energy. You know, what they brought Sunday. If you can bring that high energy and everybody buy in, win, lose, or tie, you know, I think that it would be best for the Raiders to not tank. Don't send that kind of message in the locker room. Don't fold. If you lose football games and you wind up, you know, in the top 10 picking, cool. You know what I mean? You threw everything on the table. It just didn't work out. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in tanking, but here's the thing. I see the side of both arguments. Not the fact that I agree with tanking, but I see where that side of the fan base is saying, hey, we're going to lose out on a top 5 pick with a potential, you know, generational type of player to come into this organization. And let's be honest, on the defensive side of the football, we could use that, right? We could use one of those generational, you know, this is going to be a future top player at his position, whether that be at linebacker, defensive back, defensive tackle. You know, really, you could insert anybody into the Raiders defense right now because they have holes everywhere. So I see both sides, but I think it's best for this locker room. If you go out here and try to win football games, go out on your shield and just let the chips fall where they fall. You know what I mean? If you land at the 15th pick in the draft, then that's where we land. I just think free agents and everything, they're going to get a better message. Say the Raiders go out here, man, and they finish 7-10 on the year. Okay, a realistic expectation.
Right.
They're going to realize, okay, look, the Raiders rallied late in the year. They're a few pieces away on the defensive side of the football for really making a big run. Maybe some of these defensive free agents will see that, and they'll maybe buy in and say, hey, look, the Raiders rallied late, and I could come into this organization and really help them. And then you go throw a bunch of talent throughout the draft. You know, a Jalen Carter, that's the guy I've got. That's my guy. I'm just going to come out and say it. Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, that's my guy. So I don't want to tank, right? But at the same time, I don't want us to fumble a bag and miss out on a defensive tackle player that is just – he fills every hole that the Raiders need.
No, and I get that. I want the best players to come to the Raiders at the end of the day. But I think that right now in the presence, they need to figure out what to do now. And I think that everything that's going to come is going to come. I mean, as far as free agency, the draft, all that is going to take care of itself. If the Raiders get a top 10, top 5 pick, they deserve to get it, whether it's going to be because of injuries or because of they're just not a good team. And like, if you guys remember the teams that we've had that were top 5 or top, you know, number 1 even, the Raiders deserve to get the number 1 pick, or they deserve to be the top 5 because they were terrible. They were terrible. I don't think the Raiders are that bad. No. I know on Sundays they put in a bad product. They haven't put it together. But when I see Devontae Adams on Sunday, who leads the league in receiving touchdowns, when I see Max Crosby like literally force a fumble and then the next play blocks a field goal and then gets a couple sacks and gets tackled for losses, you name it. He's doing everything on a football field. That's an elite player. Like, and then we talk about Josh Jacobs, the consistency of Josh Jacobs, the guy that we can rely on offense no matter what. I think, man, we got some pieces like this team. The reason why I think a lot of Raider Nation is frustrated this season is because we had expectation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking like in my mind, I'm thinking like, hey, let's build off that. Let's see if we can. And if it doesn't work, we need to get rid of McDaniels. I already made my thoughts clear in earlier videos that I posted, previous lives. I said, hey, we need to get rid of, if McDaniels has lost the locker room, get rid of him. If he hasn't, then okay, there's a little bit more hope. Now it's just more of like, okay, let's get this offense down. Let's get the play calling down. Let's get the right players in. You know what I mean? Because there was a report last week that pretty much said that the issue is not with the coaching staff, it's with the players. And I think you were telling me about something earlier about an issue a couple weeks ago that the Raiders have. It was between And the news has already been out, but I think you're talking about Nero.
It was last week. I heard some things behind the scenes about Cleve Farrell, and what I heard was Denzel Perryman. It could be wrong. It could have been Neil Farrell Jr. But I heard that Denzel Perryman and Cleveland Farrell actually got in a scrap behind the scenes, which is why Cleve Farrell was a healthy scratch last week.
Right.
So frustration clearly in the locker room. I do think it could have been a lot. I mean, we've come hard against this coaching staff, and rightfully so, right? Because it goes hand in hand. But it comes to execution on the players' part. And I think this Sunday was the first sign of the energy that I've been talking about that they actually brought. And look at how this locker room just felt different, right? The locker room felt bought in. They were there for the teammates. They were there for each other, constantly lifting each other up. And I think that translated into the performance onto the field, So my biggest thing, man, is what I'm really curious to see is if this offense can generate consistency now. You have this spark, right? You bought in. You're coming off a big win against the Denver Broncos. I want to see the guys getting used to Josh McDaniels' system now in the second half of the year. I want to start seeing Devontae Adams and Derek Carr connect on the passes that they weren't really connecting on earlier. I want to see that rapport naturally developing. I want to see guys feeling more natural in the system. I want to see more guys on the defensive side of the football flying around and making plays, creating turnovers. Trayvon Merrick, I'd like to see him step up. Jerry Tillery came over and had a debut for us. Thought he played okay. He didn't wow you with any type of specific stats, but he brought a presence on the interior of that defensive line. Now, is he going to be something that's going to change a franchise? No, I'm not saying that by any means. But was he a nice little piece to add and to bring a little bit more juice into that room? Look, he's coming into a situation that he's going to start getting reps with people that he hasn't played with. Of course, he's going to bring some juice and swagger, and I think that's something that the Raiders defense needs. So I felt like they were playing off of each other, but really, Farrell, I just want to see this team develop. I want to see you got to win. You're creating a sense of buzz. Are guys buying into the system, and are you improving week by week?
Facts, 100%. And Daniel Kim wants to remind you, make sure to subscribe to Raider Ray. Yeah, me and Raider Ray, we do a weekly show. Once on my channel and another day on his channel. So you want to make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. We want to keep coming back. So make sure to like the video and subscribe, y'all, man. And I appreciate everybody that's shown up so we can talk football. But let's get into the chat, man, because I know I need to get to y'all, man, because y'all make the show happen. Let's see. Edgar Visa. I don't trust my team drafting the first 3 rounds. Though that's why I say just win. We suck at drafting, so we just let Zeke do his. Well, the thing is, I don't even want to think like that because that's kind of like the old school of thought. Like, you got to think like, hey, you got to believe that whoever they have back there, meaning Dave Z and the guys that make decisions, are competent. So if they're competent, then they should be able to draft in the first 3 rounds. They should be able to get some starters in the first 3 rounds. You know what I mean? They're not going to hit on every pick. That's impossible. You're not going to hit on every free agent. You're not going to hit on every draft pick, but you're going to get some pieces, and you want to hit more than you don't hit, basically. But
I trust Dave Ziegler too. I think that in recent history with John Gruden, Mike Mayock, we've seen John, especially early in those first rounds, go and get his guy, right? He falls in love with the type of player and he goes out and pursues them. I think with Dave Ziegler is you're going to get a guy who's looking at talent from a perspective of how does he fit in this scheme and system. So, and I think that Josh McDaniels is going to trust Dave Ziegler to go and get the talent, and then Josh McDaniels will rely on the coaching staff to coach up the players. That's something that I'm intrigued to see what Dave Ziegler can do in the first round, in the second round. And also not only that, but to see the vision for the future. You know what I mean? Are they fully investing on the defensive side of the football? What direction are they going? Depending on where we fall in the draft, are they going to go get a quarterback? I'm starting to lean maybe they won't, especially if you can go get a defensive talent at the linebacker position, defensive tackle, one of those. But man, and I'm also excited to announce to you guys too, man. I'm really excited to get into the draft breakdowns this year. I've kind of got some big plans for it, and I think me and Farrell are going to really entertain you guys when it comes to the draft prospects. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned to that. Make sure you subscribe to both channels, Farrell NFL and Raider Ray, because we're going to be dropping some good content in the near future.
Facts, 100%. Rated Tape in the building. Appreciate you coming through. He says Raiders offense should be top 10 no matter what. Facts, man. Like, I'm with you. Like, I came into the season with expectations, and rightfully so. We had all the pieces on offense. We had the guys in the coaching staff, and all we needed to do or see was it happen on Sunday. We didn't see that. And I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is that we need to see a progression. If we can see a progression of getting better, because obviously Devontae Adams, before the season even got underway, he was telling the Pivot podcast, shout out to them. He was telling them like learning this offense was like learning Mandarin. You know what I mean? And that stuck in my mind. And it stuck in my mind when I'm watching the game. I'm watching Derek Carr kind of hold the ball a little bit longer than he should. You know what I mean? I'm seeing Derek Carr not playing as well as he should. I'm seeing Mac Hollins. Should we just get off the Mac Hollins train already? Like because
yeah.
I think he needs to be. I think they might need. He's definitely an upgradable. I think, in my opinion, he's showing that he's not a number 2 receiver. You know what I mean? Especially because with Renfro out and Waller out, you can say that even though he stepped up, he's had some big games. I remember that Tennessee game he had some highlight reel catches, but at the end of the day, like, he's making mistake after mistake. He's running the wrong route. How many times have we watched a game with Mac Hollins and like, Derek Carr and Mac Hollins not on the same page? And usually in those type of situations, it's usually on the receiver. It's not on the quarterback. You know what I mean? And you could tell by Derek Carr, he's like, hey man, go this way. What are you doing? You're supposed to run it this way. And Mac Hollins he's making mistakes out there, and it shows because now they're relying on him a little bit more than they were in previous games when they had Waller and Renfro. Now there's a lot of pressure on him, and we're kind of seeing like, I don't know if he's that guy. I like him though. I think he still should be on the team, but I think everything's going to work itself out because I think the Raiders are probably going to bring him back, but on a cheap deal, hopefully a cheap deal.
Right, and we kind of, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that they really bring him back? I think alluding to back early in the offseason, we were talking about roster cuts and especially at that wide receiver room. And man, there's some surprising ones. Demarcus Robinson left for Baltimore, right? Baltimore, I believe. And he's out there and found himself in a pretty decent role. Like he's producing as well out there. I thought we could have used him when the injuries started piling up, especially over a guy like Keelan Cole. I think Keelan Cole has struggled in this offense. Whether it be route running, drops, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I felt like there was still veteran presence like a Demarcus Robinson that you could have used at the wide receiver position. Mac Hollins, obviously his true colors get shown when Hunter Renfro, Darren Waller go down, and now he's asked to be that true number 2 guy. I think you're starting to see where he's at in the development when it comes to his route running and his knowledge of the offense. He probably had a limited role, and then his role got expanded drastically due to injuries, and now you're seeing the lack of the understanding of the playbook. I think that's where we're at with Mac Hollins right now. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal special teams player, special teams ace, to be honest with you. Probably one of the better special teams guys we've seen in the recent years. But do you really think that they bring him back?
If it's a cheap deal, I mean, he's a great special teamser. I think he's great in the locker room. You can tell the players like him. The coaching staff loves him. He's a hard worker. So I think he's a good guy to have in that team on that team. But if it's like if some team comes in and offers him a considerable, like, bigger contract, then obviously the Raiders should be out on that because he's not that good a player.
I see, like, the Raiders aren't the only ones that see his special teams value, and I don't think the Raiders are going to be willing to pay him. So I could see a team, like how the Jacksonville Jaguars pursued Zay Jones last year. A guy who is also known to be a good special teams player. I could see a guy like that gaining value on the open market, and I just don't think the Raiders are going to be willing to pay that price for him. I think somebody's going to overpay for him.
Ray Tay says we'll win a couple of games, fall in the draft, pick a lineman in the first round.
Hey, Ray, I got a name for you. If that's the case, they better go Peter Skronowski. Look him up. He's good. He was actually 19 years old for a majority of the season and just turned 20. And he is like elite traits when it comes to pass protection. So hey, if you want to go, if the Raiders do decide to go that route, at least make sure that you hit on it.
No, facts. They need to upgrade both lines. You know what I mean? Whether it's interior D tackle, I mean, they could.
Unfortunately, it's not out of the plan because you get that 5th-year option, and with the tackle position being such a high-price commodity that you're going to have to pay, they like to take these offensive linemen in the first round to pick up that 5th-year option in case these guys pan out.
Westside Media, appreciate you coming through. Raider Earn. He says Mac is a good situational player, but we need a real solid number 2 and a tight end. Oh, okay. Shots fired. He's like, hey man, we need to replace Waller already. But yeah, man, hey, that's definitely a position to upgrade. But at the end of the day, like they're gonna have to do that by the draft. And the fact that they're paying Devontae Adams $30 million, well worth it though. He's everything as advertised.
I don't worry about that one.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it getting number 2 because you got Devontae Adams. So all
Right.
you have to do is just get like a complimentary player that can take advantage of one-on-ones or that can complement Devontae Adams' skill set. Maybe a speedier guy. I seen someone say bring back Aguilar. If it's a cheap deal, I don't mind that. But I don't know. You know, at this point, he might want a bigger deal. Who knows? But
You might be able to target somebody in the draft or just go get one of these. You know, is McCole Hardman up for a contract?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'll take a look at that real quick. McCole Hardman would be a nice fit, I think, with the Raiders offense.
Speed guy. Yeah,
Yep.
we're lacking speed for sure. Jerry Tolley says Carr's stats are almost the same as Kirk Cousins. That's crazy. Wow, that's crazy because and Kirk Cousins, you know, he's the only difference though, Jerry. I'll say this: they're winning. Winning cures everything at the end of the day. Like people are not going to be nitpicking at your game, but we haven't been winning. So at the end of the day, like that's the big key. So
McCole Hardman's a free agent. He's a free agent. That'd be a nice
yeah. Hey, Luis Lopez. Yeah, that's Keelan Cole. He can get open. There's a few times where I'm like, oh man, like, and he's creating separation. But his hands are kind of suspect, though. His hands are suspect. ONT6 says, Lyman, how about we trade up for all these picks that we have to get a player that we actually want?
Jalen Carter.
That's true. The Raiders have 13 picks in the draft.
Hey, Raider Nation, I want to know down in the comments section, if you had the opportunity and we're sitting in the draft and we have the choice to pick Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia, which direction are you going? Me personally, I'm running to the podium, putting Jalen Carter in. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter.
Man, you get into the draft early. You're like, hey, might as well. Huh?
No, I just think we won't. I won't get too into it. I just think right now he is the piece that the Raiders need. And I think that if you're stuck into the Chandler Jones contract, like I think the Raiders are going to, because I don't see many teams, if any at all, are going to go out there and trade for that kind of contract.
Right.
And if you restructure it, you're going to push a lot of dead cap. So they're kind of stuck with that one. It was a bad signing and you have to kind of deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You go get a Jalen Carter, and I think that could help Chandler Jones' production on the edge.
And Curtis Williams says, I know this is irrelevant, but could y'all, man, me and Ray said this, like, I don't know, we had a conversation. If Ruggs played in this offense,
oh my
God. But you know, we have to see, look, at the end of the day, like, you know, Ray, he made a good point earlier. He's like, man, like, we have all these players, but we're not even top 10 in offense. We got Josh Jacobs, one of the best running backs, and we got Adams, the best receiver. You know what I mean? We got all these players, but we're still kind of struggling on offense. And for whatever reason, you know, you could point to a lot of different things. The O-line being maybe inconsistent. You know what I mean? They thought they could probably outcoach, coach around the O-line's inconsistency. And a lot of people point like the O-line is better than what a lot of people say they are, especially last year. They're like a big upgrade, but doesn't mean that they're that good. Doesn't mean that they don't have players on that O-line that could be upgraded. Like our right side is still kind of like up in the air. I mean, Alex Barr he's not a good player. You know what I mean? He's kind of a Band-Aid out there.
Yeah, they're going to have to throw money at that offensive line. You know, it doesn't have to be superstars, but you're definitely going to have to make upgrades. You got to replace Alex Bars. You know, you're going to have to find a guard. Are you going to re-sign Jermaine Illuminor? You know, would you do that if it was on an affordable deal? You know, team friendly, a guy who's been in the scheme and system. I mean, I know he deals with penalty issues at times, but I think he's a competent, average starting tackle in the league, and he gives you diversity swinging over to the left side. I thought he actually did decent. You know, he let up a play where he didn't pick up a free runner right to the quarterback. But, you know, Jermaine Illuminor plays pretty well, especially with the injuries that he's been dealing with this season. But no, man, I think
he was solid last game, though.
He was solid, bro.
And he was playing
for a player at the caliber of Colton Miller. You would think like it would have been a lot more evident that a player of that caliber was missing,
right?
But I thought he did a pretty good job.
They did a pretty good job, even on that last play, that last throw of the game. And did you see how close Carr was to fumbling though? I just want to throw that out there. Like
On the last play?
the last play where Carr like threw it to Devontae Adams, literally they had like a screenshot where it was the DN's hand was like this close to the football. Like I'm talking about stripping it,
bro. It's a game.
Him, facts, 100%. ONT6 says I can play safety. Sign me, Raiders. Hey, ONT6, man, he's putting his shot. He's shooting his shot.
If you can play like that safety in your profile picture, I think they better.
I think we have some Raider scouts that be coming to our show. They don't be commenting though, but they be watching our show for sure. Raiders 805 says a lot of the fans expected too much from these coaches for their first year. Bill Walsh took 3 years. Hey, and Raiders 05. Look, I was on that train too as well. Like I was like, give McDaniels time. Even when they were 0-3, they had a rough start. I kind of was skeptical when I felt like McDaniels lost the locker room a little bit. And if that was the case, hey, he need to leave. But if the players still are they're bought into McDaniels and he can prove me wrong, hey, that's the best case scenario. And look, you can even talk about Bill Belichick. His first year, he went like what 6-10, 5-10 with the Patriots.
I get it. Look, I think it's a regurgitated take at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's been addressed a million times. But here's the thing, like that obviously that makes sense, right? Majority of the time you have to give a coaching staff time. But look, when you get, when you kind of put your nuts on the table and you throw the chips in the middle of the table in an off season like what you did, I mean, you got to go out there and win football games. You go make a move for Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones, everything that you did this offseason. You got to go win football games. Like there is none of that 3 to 5 year window. I mean, what you said to this locker room was, "Hey, we're going to go win football games now," and that honestly didn't happen. So you got to kind of live with the decision that you decided to make. And I think you just go out on your shield this season. I think you just play and finish these last 7 games, 10 games, whatever the case is. I forget. And just see where you're at as a team.
Jerry, I don't know if he's speaking to. How is that when JJ20 has over 1,000 yards already? Oh, I think he's probably speaking to someone in the chat. Hollins is better at number 4 receiver. Cole would need a deep threat, but well, hey man, if he can catch the ball, maybe he'll get more PT.
I want to see DJ Turner get involved more, bro. I really do. Like, I was hoping he could kind of fill in that role. But hey, look, you're seeing in this Josh McDaniels offense that these young guys aren't getting a ton of reps, right? The DJ Turners. So these veterans, Keelan Cole's been around the game.
No, is Carr a second?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's wild, isn't it? Especially when you go out and keep. That's what I'm saying, man. You could have kept Demarcus Robinson and moved on from a guy like Brandon Bolden or put Britton Brown on a practice squad. Like, do some of that stuff. Like, we knew Josh Jacobs was going to get a ton of carries.
It's funny. I thought it was interesting, and I was reading something. I was reading a quote from a recent presser from Josh McDaniels, and he was talking about how he had to really figure out, like, oh wow, like one of the things that he learned about Josh Jacobs, he never gets tired. He never asked to get out the game. And that was something that he had to figure out. Like he didn't, because he's so used to, like, he admitted this. He said he's so used to running back by committee. He's never been around a back like Josh Jacobs, as talented as Josh Jacobs. So, this is kind of like funny because, a lot of us, going into the season, we're like, oh, McDaniels has like 5-6 running backs. It's going to be running back by committee. Josh Jacobs is going to lose some carries. But that hasn't happened because obviously, McDaniels had to make an adjustment because that's how well and good, Josh Jacobs is. You know what I mean? So I think that McDaniels is learning and growing as a coach too. And like I said, best case scenario is if McDaniels figures it out. If this offense, this team improves, every Sunday we start seeing a team that fights hard, that's trying to win. I think that's best case scenario because McDaniels is coming back next year. He's coming back next year. So if he's lost the locker room, what's the point of bringing him back and drafting some other players? You know what I mean? It's no point.
How about everybody's take this offseason that Zamir White was going to be the Josh Jacobs replacement? Ha ha ha. That ain't working out, bro.
Jerry Tully says, what are we going to do with Waldo Chandler Jones? What are we going to do with him, man?
I think you got to build a solid defensive tackle. I think you're locked into the contract. I mean, unless you're able to move some of that money around and back end it, and then maybe move on from them via trade. If you don't do that, I personally, you guys, I think that the Raiders are locked into that deal. I think it was just they put a ton of guaranteed money into that contract, and I think that you're going to have to live with it. So that's why I'm so big on a guy like Jalen Carter and not Will Anderson, is because you're just going to clog up that room. So I think you go get a premier generational type of talent at that interior defensive lineman spot. And I think even with Chandler Jones rising up in age, you go get a young dominant interior presence like a Jalen, and bro, you can kind of help. You can help the pressure, the look, the assignments that Chandler Jones is getting allocated his way. And I think that's the best way to help Chandler Jones with the silver and black, is to get a ton of talent at that interior spot.
And I think the chat agrees with you, man. Ray says he's saying Carter. Jerry says Will Anderson. Borbin says Jalen Carter. Appreciate you coming through, Borbin. Jalen Carter. Alfredo says Carter. Okay, so everybody's kind of like everybody's on the same page, man. We got some people who know football out here.
Yeah, he's a special player, bro. I just his upside, man. He reminds me a lot of Jeffrey Simmons out in Tennessee. I mean, he just has a lot of those traits. And look, let's be honest. I would take a Jeffrey Simmons on this roster, 7 days out of the week. So I just think it's a no-brainer pick. That's why even if the Raiders want to trade up, I know you got a lot of draft capital. I just think he's one of those guys that the Raiders should go out there and pursue aggressively. I mean, even if you land in that top 12 range, take that 12th pick and bundle up some packages, or maybe even throw a player in there and go move up and go make a draft pick that can change the trajectory of your defense for this organization.
Right. And Van City says, Farrell Ray, I'm going to my first ever live NFL Raiders game this Sunday. Salute, congrats. I'm so excited. I'm not going to go to sleep. Facts. And you're going to Seattle. You're going to Seattle. That's dope, man. Hey, man, I hope you have a good time.
Coming off of a big win against the Denver Broncos. At least you got some momentum going into that game, and we're not coming off of some horrendous loss. So, hey, man, look, and everybody's writing us out for the Seahawks game, and I think if you catch the Raiders at the right time with the right energy and I think the Raiders are going to show up in Seattle on the road and go out there and play some tough football. I get this feeling in my gut that the Raiders might actually go out there and surprise a lot of people against a Seattle team. And look, if the Raiders can go out here and slow down Kenneth Walker, I'm not going to say shut him down, because that's a lot of teams haven't been able to do that. He's kind of been a special runner this season as a rookie. If you can go out there and slow him down and force Geno Smith to kind of do what he's been doing, we'll see, man. We'll see. I think Geno Smith has done really good for the Seahawks, though, bro.
Yeah, and let's segue into the game. I mean, obviously we wanted to talk about last game today. We'll touch on the game a little bit, and hopefully next show we'll get into more into the Seahawks and Raiders game. But like the Seahawks, man, they're a surprise team, man. I'm not gonna lie. Before the season started, I was looking at Pete Carroll. I'm like, man, this dude's in his 70s, and he just traded away Russell Wilson. And he has a young team. I'm like, why is he not retiring? Apparently, he knew something that we didn't know, because obviously I think they're like 6-3, 6-4. You know what I mean? And they're fighting. They're playing well this season. Geno Smith, career rebirth.
You're starting to question, right? Is Russell Wilson what everybody thought he was, or is this a product of a system? So Geno Smith is out here playing the best ball of his career. Like, he looks like a different player, bro. And they're not asking him to go out there and do stuff that he's not good at. They're just doing what good coaches do, and they're putting him in a position to, hey, this is your skill set. This is what you're good at. Go out there and do that, and we're going to build a consistent running game. They did a good job investing into the offensive line this offseason, and their draft picks are starting to pan out. Chris Cross, I believe that's his name, or something like that. Really, really good. And also, on the defensive side of the football, Tariq Woolen, bro, have you looked into him?
Dude, hey, I remember him in the draft. The dude was like, 6'4", 6'5", had a 4.2.
He's a first player in, 10 games, 11 games to have 5 interceptions, 1 pick six. He's allowing a 58 passer rating. I mean, he held DeAndre Hopkins to no catches. Cortland Sutton, 1 catch, 18 yards. Marquise Brown, I think 1 catch, 8 yards or 12 yards, something like that. So, dude, we're talking about superstar players that this dude is just shutting down his rookie season. So that matchup against Devontae Adams is going to be exciting.
Facts, 100%, man. That's the guy that I looked at, and a lot of people were like, man, they looked at the talent on paper, physically speaking. The dude was like a guy that I think a lot of teams looked at, but some people were kind of worried about, okay, how long was it going to take for him to develop? But he hit the ground running.
He hit the ground running.
He hit the ground running. He soaked up that coaching out in Seattle.
Coaching, man, it's putting players in a position where they know what their job is, and you give them the freedom to play their game. That's what successful organizations do, is they have players, they know what they're good at, and they put them in those situations. They don't ask them to do what their philosophy is. That kind of drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, what I'm more concerned about this game, just looking from a surface level, like obviously I'm gonna get into, like, you know, hopefully next show we'll have a more prepared show, but their receivers,
they have sprinters. They have a 4x100 team out there.
And Sam Webb did not look good out there last game.
Okay, but also a guy like Rock Ya-Sin has struggled with guys with speed. You know what I mean? He's a corner not known for speed. So, God forbid, I know he's the fastest DB that we got on our team, but, you know, I'm not trying to see. Man, I always almost call him Damon Arnett, bro. I almost call him Damon Arnett. But you don't want to see him out there playing the way he's playing. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him out there going against Dwayne Estridge, which Dwayne Estridge actually went to a school about 30 minutes from my house. So I got to watch his career when he was in high school, and that dude was a special player in high school. And then he went to college and did his thing, and now he's with the Seahawks. But man, him, DK, Tyler Lockett, Marquise Goodwin. I mean, bro, you're talking about real dynamic playmakers. So, I mean,
D-line's gonna have to take over.
D-line's going to have to take over, but remember what we talked about, what the Raiders defense has actually done a good job of is to keep things in front of them. You know, they have not, this season, they've been pretty consistent with not letting, you know, blown assignments, blown coverage, deep shots down the field behind them. They've actually done a really good job. And I think if you want to bash Trayvon Merrick all you want, there's one thing that you could say between last season with Gus Bradley and this year with Patrick Graham. Trayvon Merrick has done a good job guarding over the top of this defense. You know what I mean? Say what you want about the things that are in front of him and coverage and all of that, but when it's not letting up the big play behind the defense, you got to take your hat off to him. He's done a pretty good job.
I still haven't lost faith in Merrick. I know he's struggling, but he's a young player, so I don't think he's a player where the Raiders should give up on, or even I feel like they should just continue to coach him up. I think that it's been a big jump from him from Gus Bradley's defense into Patrick Graham's defense. Way more responsibility, a lot of things happening to him at going a million miles per hour. It's taking this long, but you know what? I look at it from this perspective. Is he the only one that's struggling out there? No. You know what I mean? I think a lot of players on this team are struggling with the transition, this defense, and this offensive system. So I think that, you know what, since he's young enough where they can actually take their time, and hopefully he'll put it together. Because once he starts playing fast, that's when we'll see the real Morrig. Right now, he's not playing that fast, and hopefully but a guy that's playing fast is Harmon. That dude right there, he's our best safety right now, just because he knows the system. Yeah,
and you and that gives me hope because he's the type of player, right, that we see once you have a chemistry and time and experience in this defense of how fast and how quick you're able to play. Now, if all of our defensive players can get used to that kind of system and they all can start to fly around, I think it'll be an okay defensive unit.
Salute Jerry Toby. He says, I just subbed my guys. Y'all know what y'all talking about. Most Raider channels just clickbait, man. I appreciate that, man. Hey, appreciate that a lot, man. Appreciate you coming through. Hey, we just trying to keep coming back. We're trying to be consistent. We're trying to get better at this too as well. Like, you're gonna see improvements coming soon, man. Like I was talking to Ray, man. We got some things up our sleeves. And like he was mentioning, you know, the draft and all that type of stuff. We're gonna be prepared. We're trying our best. So, but we can't do it without your support. And that leads me to To my guy, D Menace in the building. He says, hit that like button. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to both me and Ray's channel. We do a weekly show, once obviously on my channel right now, and then the other it's Saturday. We'll do it on his channel twice a week. We switch off all the time. So you want to make sure you subscribe to both our channels and like the video, because that algorithm is very real. Like literally, it's very helpful for us. So if you just make sure, it's simple, just little tap. You know what I mean? If y'all looking at this on your phone, tap, and hit that notification bell too, because it reminds you when we go live. You know what I mean? If you guys are anywhere, boom, you just get a notification. Boom, hey, Ray and Pharaoh's live. Let's see what they're talking about. Boom, you get that notification easy.
And you guys, likes go a long way for our channels. I mean, we take a lot of time and effort putting content out for you guys, and honestly, we don't ask for a single penny from anybody. But if you can, just smash that like button, and it just helps the algorithm mightily. So we all know, though, everybody that's in our chat, man, they always make a play, like Raid says, and smash that like button.
Matt Marinovich says Surtain was a #1 court. Tay schooled him. Did you see Devontae Adams talking at the end of the game? He's like he ain't ready. He's not ready yet. Yeah, he said something to that effect. Like,
that fires me up, bro. That's what I wanted to see these last few weeks, is a team energized like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and shout out to Devontae Adams for bringing it, because the way the team rallied around him in that tunnel, like, I mean, those are kind of moments in seasons that you're looking for as a fan base, as an organization, as leaders on the offensive and defensive side of the football, is big plays and big time moments by big time players, and that can help turn seasons around. So, not to say that the Raiders are going to make a push for the playoffs. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if they can use this momentum to kind of salvage and build what they got going on in this organization, I'm here for it.
Van City says, I just seen rumors that Ramsey wants to come here again. I'm not sure if there's any truth to them. Man, oh man, that'd be.
Listen, Jalen Ramsey has said in the past that he was begging his agent. He's like, literally, I was begging my agent to make me a Las Vegas Raider. This was when he was, or at the time it was Oakland. He wanted to go to Oakland and play with the Raiders, which that's big, because at the time, man, not a lot of people were begging, especially a caliber type of player like Jalen Ramsey was begging to go to the Raiders. Hey, look, man, if they can make that kind of move, I know we're saying that there's a lot of money that he would cost, but everybody's talking about, hey, you got to spend money on the defensive side of the football. Mm-hmm. Hey, him, Nate Hobbs, Rock Ya-Sin, you're talking about a nice little group over there.
Look, what would you give up for him though? Because he's getting paid. You know, he's getting paid like a #1.
You're gonna eat that contract, so I don't think you're gonna have to give up a ton of compensation for him. If he demands a release, like if he's like, look, I'm not playing with you.
Nah, I don't know if he's gonna do that. I don't think he's gonna do that. I mean, unless something terrible happens between the organ, I don't know, something happens, but I don't think I don't think the Rams would even cut him if they can get, like, Ramsey's a good enough player where they can get some compensation.
Would you give up a second for him? It's tough.
He's getting paid a lot.
He's getting paid a lot of money, bro.
He's paid a lot of money.
And you're kind of, I don't know. I want to see a lot of draft capital go to the defense.
I'll do a third round. I know he's not going for third round, but like I'm just saying, I'll do that. Third round. Because if his contract was a little bit better, or if he restructured his contract, or then it would probably make more sense. Like, yeah, because we don't have a #1 corner on this roster. I like Rock Ya-Sin, but he's not.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably not the move financially.
No, not at all. Not at all. But hey, man, we can dream. We can dream.
No, I think you just put an emphasis on drafting, man. I think you but look at like, if you can go find a player. I know it's hard to do, but if you can go find a Nate Hobbs late in the draft, if you can go and grab a Tariq Woolen like the Seattle Seahawks did, those players are out there. I mean, you've got to be able to do your homework as an organization.
Rod Gas, Raider Ray, Pharaoh, shout out from Mexico, Raider Nation for life. Let's just win, even if we can't get Carter. There are players all over the draft. Facts, man. Facts, 100%, man. Even though I definitely would want Carter on the team, I want the best players on the Raiders. But at the end of the day, I want the Raiders to win, and I feel like, you know, McDaniels needs to prove a lot to me, in my opinion. I need to see some improvement because let's be honest, like if McDaniels, and I don't want to keep just keep coming back with the same point over and over again, but at the end of the day, like I still have my doubts on McDaniels. If we tank the season, like are you really that confident that McDaniels could really be that guy? If we tank the whole season, or would you feel more comfortable if we? I mean, obviously, winning out would be best case scenario, but we win majority of our games. We finish strong. We see improvement on this team. Then we feel way more comfortable going into the offseason. Then we can really address the roster because now we know what our weaknesses are. I mean, they probably know it by now, but now they really know, like, okay, we've established our systems. We got the players that can run our system. We got the players in the locker room that when we bring incoming players, it's going to work. Because if those reports are true about the players not getting along for whatever reason, it's not the relationship between the players and coaching, it's the players in that locker room, then it hasn't been a smooth transition from the Gruden era to the McDaniels era then. You know what I mean?
And I think there's some natural feeling out process going on there for sure.
Yeah, man. Late to the party. All good, man. All good, man. We just talking football, man. Hey, appreciate you coming through either way. Julio Jones says Ramsey has been getting burnt left and right. I was gonna say that because I remember watching the Bills game, and oh my god,
skates.
Man, what was the receiver? What's the number one receiver from the Bills?
Diggs.
Stephon Diggs was just going wild on him, man. Like that was embarrassing, especially for a guy like Ramsey and his reputation as the number one corner. It was a lot of Diggs and no Ramsey. You know what I mean? Like he was destroying him. G.A. Preacher, what's good, nation? Appreciate you coming through, man. Hey, I'm glad you were able to get your gift, man. Man, if y'all don't know, G.A. Preacher won the 1K prize. He got himself some Raider gear, and I posted that, man. Once I hit, and look, the road to 2K continues, and hopefully when I get to 2K, I'm gonna do another one of these prize giveaways. So be on the lookout for that as well. And Wild Turkey, is that Tuck Roll hoodie? Love it. Yeah, it is, man. I got it from this guy named RaiderByNature.com. Just go to Raider by Nature. He has a Raider store, and I seen this. I was like, "Ooh, I gotta get this. Man." But I appreciate it, man. Daniel Kim says, "Yes, give up the possible for the actual. How many college guys will actually?" Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? It is possible.
G.A. Page says, "Are you guys talking about drafting the Bulldogs defense?" So Fresno? Nah, man. Has Fresno ever had a good defense? I don't think they've ever had a good defense. But I'm not like a huge Fresno historian.
Yeah, I'm not a big Fresno.
Yeah. Jerry has a good question. What are Carr's chances to be to be on this team in 2023?
I still think the verdict's out on that, to be honest. I don't think this is a set in stone answer. If you wanted a percentage, I would say it's about a 60-40 right now that I could see him coming back, but
damn, Kim, why, man? Why? Dumb and Dumber chances? Damn. Van City says 1.5%.
Wow, bro.
But
I think it's definitely higher than that for sure.
Especially because you've seen how the locker room
rallied behind him.
Yeah, man. And you can see the relationship that, McDaniels is kind of like, you just see it. You're like, when you see that, that's a real moment, and you got to respect that. And I feel like, hey, if the Raiders continue to like build on what they have right now, then it increases Derek Carr's chances to come back next year.
And I think he restructures. I really do. I think he restructures this contract. So that $34 million right now, I think that number's going to come down.
Facts, 100%. Daniel Kim says, let's see what he says. Me too, Van City Wasted would say, like, our life to depend on it, man. For real. All good, AGA Patriot, man. I'm glad you were able to get it, man, because you always come through and show some love, man. Like, I appreciate you for coming through. Rod Gas says, I would like to have Ramsey with us if he has that Raider attitude. Hey, man, he wants to play. Hey, man, I'm all for players wanting to play for the Raiders. That's a great sign. Like, they want to play for this team. But, yeah, man, hey, man, we just, like I said, we just wanted to come here, just talk to y'all real quick, man. and talk to you like about last game. And I know the Seahawks game is coming up, and we'll get into that in the next show. But yeah, man, like I know you mentioned the Seahawks might be. You didn't say winnable game, but you were kind of like saying that there's a chance that we can win that game.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of like this is a real tough game. I'm not gonna lie. See, before the season started, the Seahawks is one of those games like you just circle and be like, oh, that's a Raiders win.
No,
but
they're way better than what we thought.
Yeah,
they're way better. So, no, man, I look, it's going to be a dogfight. And if the Raiders do this, I think that they're catching momentum at the right time. I don't think Geno Smith has ever beat the Raiders. So I thought that was a kind of interesting stat. But we'll see, man. I mean, Geno Smith has not been a part of a team that has this much talent around him. The running back, the offensive line, the receiver weapons, the young defensive talent that the Hawks have. I mean, they're a tough football team, man. So I just think if the Raiders can create and keep this momentum moving forward, I think it could be one of those underrated games that the Seahawks could go out there and lose. What's up?
My GA keep card. You meant Georgia Bulldogs. Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with them guys.
Yeah.
The talent level on that team.
It's stupid.
You can't go wrong.
Man, honestly, if they could get Jalen Carter, Georgia Bulldog, and then maybe the second round go get a sideline to sideline linebacker, one of those premier type of players. Maybe even if you have to bundle up the second and the third and move up and grab a guy. I just think that you have an opportunity to go get, if you can go grab like 2 to 3 good prospects on the defensive side of the football, I think the Raiders will be in an okay position.
Watch Raider in the building, man. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to Watch Raider, man. Appreciate you coming through. Tariq Woolen is going to be guarding Adams. Yeah, he's going to be matched up with them. But Adams, man, I think he's the best receiver in the game. And I think what separates him is the fact that, like, mentally he's, like, way ahead of all the receivers in the league. Like, he thinks he looks at it from, like, a quarterback's view. I mean, I feel like a guy like Woolen, he's still a rookie. Physically, he could definitely match up with Devontae Adams. But I think Adams, especially with McDaniels dialing up some plays, like we talked about earlier, like that was a McDaniels play call where he set him up, and now on top of that, I think Adams said it in his presser after the game. He said he was talking to McDaniels about that play, and that's a great thing to see when you're talking to your offensive coordinator, basically your coach, and telling them about a play, and they're able to set it up for a game-winning touchdown, man. If they can build off that is a beautiful thing to see.
I'm curious to see how well Tariq, like he went up against the Cortland Suttons, which is a big physical body guy, a high point catcher. Marquise Brown, yeah, he's got the burner type of speed. He's not an elite route runner. I mean, obviously DeAndre Hopkins is probably the best wide receiver that he's gone against, and he held him to no catches. But I just want to see how Tariq is able to handle with the development, the attacks of a Devontae Adams, of how he could set you up early in the first quarter to attack you in the third. Like his setups are just so different. And so I'm curious to see it as just like a game inside of a game matchup battle, is how a young prospect like Tariq Woolen, because look, let's make no mistake about it. Like if Tariq Woolen goes out here and competes with Devontae and limits him to like one of those games that Devontae had, like 1 catch, 12 yards, like, bro, Tariq Woolen is going to be somebody to look out for. But I'm excited to see Devontae Adams maybe go out here and put on a show. You know what I mean? Let the young guy know, like, hey, there's levels to this. And while you're a really good football player, he's going to go out here and try to dog walk him.
Nah, facts. And what I like about Devontae Adams, and it's not surprising when you're like one of the best, if not the best, you're an ultimate competitor. You know what I mean? We've seen him after that game. The first game, I think Devontae Adams was, even though we won the first game against the Denver Broncos, I think Devontae Adams circled this game against the Broncos the second time around because he remembered that matchup against him. He wanted to make sure and let that rookie know that, hey, not rookie, but Surtain know that, hey, you're still coming up in this game. And Adams put on a show. You know, like he's had pretty much what he's done all season. The guy leads the league in touchdown, man. Like as much as we've been struggling on offense, like that makes you think like, wow, like imagine if we start putting it together. Imagine the passing offense coming together. And I understand that Woolen might be a tough matchup for him, but
I think it comes down to football IQ. I
yeah,
think physically Tariq matches up with him really well. I mean, I think he's over 6'3". I think he's like 6'4", something like that. But he runs like a 4'3", 4'2", something like that. Like just something stupid. And but what I'm trying to say is like the football IQ aspect of it is what is going to be the biggest showcase, because I don't think Devontae is going to put an ego in there and be like, hey, I'm just going to go out there and out physical you, be more of a physical player than you. Like, I'm going to test your football mind. Like, I'm going to see if you're catching up on the patterns that I'm setting you up for the third, or the looks I'm going to give you late into the fourth. And I'm just looking for all the setups and all the route concepts.
Raider Roof says, laugh out loud. Who's seriously asking about tanking? Hey, man, like a lot of Raider Nation. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel like, hey, you know what? The season's over. We should just, you know what I mean? Like, let the young players come in and pretty much. I mean, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it, but pretty much lose a game so we can get a high draft pick and upgrade this team, whether it's on defense or even getting a top flight quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. Who knows? I don't agree with it, but it's a difference in opinion, and that's why we brought it up. We wanted to talk about it. It's not a joke, man. It's serious, man. It's people serious out here.
Mm-hmm.
Alfredo says, believe it or not, Raider, with some people in the nation. Look, yeah, exactly. And GA Patriot says, facts, Ray. Facts. Adam set up that overtime touch through the first half of the game. Yep. 100%. Watt says Adams is just a smart player, but athletically he's nice too, bro. Like the dude, he's no slouch. I know. Go ahead.
I don't see him slowing down, bro. Like there was all that talk about when a player hits 30 at the wide receiver position, how they start to drop. Bro, I think Devontae Adams he's a walking gold jacket, bro.
His skill level, man.
It's so good. It's so good.
You know what I mean? His skill level, like, is going to allow him to be a great player. Because if you guys are Raider fans, you guys remember guys like Tim Brown and Jerry Rice. The reason why they had longevity and they were able to play for a long time is because their skill level was so high. Their work ethic was second to none. And you kind of can see it with Devontae Adams. That's like the vibes that Devontae Adams get. Like, you could tell that he puts in the work. He has the skill level. He has the smarts. This guy looks like he's going to be playing well for a while. You know what I mean? I hope so. You know what I mean? God willing. You know what I mean?
I hope so too.
Facts, 100%, man.
He's got the route running to create longevity. It reminds me a lot like Tim Brown. You know what I mean? Just the ability to separate. That's something that you can carry over instead of the burner type of speed and you're kind of a one-trick pony, or maybe you're just really physical like a guy like Julio. It's like you hit that wall a lot sooner than if you're just this elite route runner.
Well, it says he's savvy and he uses double moves and stop and go. J Dub says the idea of tanking is, hey, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And I don't even think players and coaches think like that.
Nah, they don't, bro.
They can't because their job is going to be on the line.
Yeah, bro. They put in way too much work to go out here and just tank for a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, how often does a rookie just step in and just turn everything around? Even if it's a premier quarterback, that takes time.
Raider Wolf says, okay, I understand about the high draft pick thing, but even if we did get a high draft pick, it doesn't guarantee anything. Sometimes you draft somebody in the first round and they turn out to be bust. Facts, 100%. And then now you're stuck with pretty much starting over, because if we let's say if we tank the season, we're rebuilding. The Raiders are rebuilding. They're going to be trading away. Devontae Adams is not going to stay for a rebuild. He's a guy in his prime. He's trying to win. And he's a great player, and that's another reason we can't waste a player like Devontae Adams. He's like, he wants to be a Raider. He plays hard. He's a great leader. He's the perfect player for the Raiders. We can't waste that. And if we trade him away, that's just, man. I don't want to say it's a spin. It's not a spin in the face of the fan base. I feel like the Raiders are going to be a laughing stock. How do you trade away a guy like Devontae Adams? He's like the perfect player.
That's not happening, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I know the Packers did, but they did it because, Devontae wasn't willing to stay, for a lot of different reasons.
Everybody's talking about these struggling quarterbacks. Look at every quarterback that got paid this offseason. They're all struggling. Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers, You could even kind of throw DC in there. Deshaun Watson hasn't even played football. Like, everybody that got the bag this offseason at the quarterback position, bro, they're struggling.
Hey, Jago said it best. I want to earn the 32nd pick every year. That's the goal.
Facts,
100% right there. Facts, man. But yeah, man. Hey, man. Like, hey, this has been a great show, man. I appreciate everybody coming through. Man, it's 37 of y'all in the building. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 2K. That's a special number. I'm right around the corner, man. I've been growing at a fast rate, and I really appreciate the support, man. And like I said, don't just subscribe to my channel. Go to Raider Ray's channel, and I hope if my mods is still in the building, if you can post the links for both our channels. And yeah, man, go subscribe to both our channels because we go live on each other's channels. Like, so today is on my channel. The next time you see me live, it's going to be on Raider Ray's channel. So make sure to subscribe, man. We're trying to grow. We're trying to keep coming back. The algorithm is very real, like we said, and it helps us keep coming back and improving, man. I'm trying to make sure. I'm trying to turn this into like a. But I got my ideas. Y'all gonna see. I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna be about it. So y'all gonna see. But yeah. Any last thoughts, man? Going into the next game against the Seahawks, moving forward for the Raiders. Anything that you want to talk about?
Nah, I'm going to save it for Saturday when we can kind of dive into the game a little bit more and bring more of matchups. As far as this goes, man, Raider Nation, I'm just excited with the energy that the Raiders brought on Sunday. I think it was a really good win for the organization. Primarily, you guys, what I take away from it, not talking about playoffs, not talking about winning a ton of games, not talking about tanking and losing out on every game. I just think it was good for the men in that locker room to go out there and get a win and come together as a team. That's what I was most important about. And I think that's important for Raider Nation, that we all start to come together to rally and support this football team. Let's not just throw in the towel. Let's rally. Let's watch this football team. Football is only on for a short amount of time. Let's enjoy Raiders. Let's enjoy Raiders football, and let's enjoy the content creators, the times and the moments that we get to interact. And man, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to both of our channels.
Facts, 100%, man. I appreciate everybody coming through. I apologize if I couldn't get to everybody's comments. Y'all were talking, man. It was like a lot of people leaving chats. But if I didn't get to y'all, make sure to leave a comment. Leave a comment below. I'm gonna respond. Just make sure to leave a comment at the end of the show. And yeah, man, that's it, man. Until next time, man. Peace out, Raider Nation.
Great Pharaoh, the gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.